What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. This week's episode of Atlanta was titled B.A.N. It's an acronym for Black America Network. And once again, they've sort of swayed away from the central story of Paperboy, Ernest, and Darius. Like that actual traditional Atlanta setting, them intermingling. The only reference to Ernest that we see is from Paperboy being on this show. And we'll get to that in a moment. So I like that they're able to execute these concepts that sort of act outside of the narrative that's going on. This episode doesn't focus on Ernest's money troubles or anything that happened in last week's episode with Vanessa. Instead, you have Paperboy, and the episode works to sort of establish him becoming more of a voice, becoming more of a celebrity. So on the Black American Network, they have a show called Montague, and it's a talk show where Paperboy is invited to speak about some tweets that he made about Caitlyn Jenner, basically saying he wouldn't smash Caitlyn Jenner. And joining him is Dr. Deborah Holt, who is a trans activist. And so they have this discussion about transphobia. And I think it's not as exciting as some of the other elements in this episode. Like the main part of them just on the talk show, it had its moments. Like I loved Paperboy and Dr. Holt sort of agreeing, and then the host Montague was just kind of dumbfounded because he booked these two because they had very differing opinions and figured they were just going to argue the whole time. But then he's trying to throw out stuff, but you hate women and you know, things like that. It's funny to see him scramble because he wasn't expecting them to agree on the fact that Paperboy has a freedom of speech. So I thought that was a strong element. And then again, I like Paperboy's personality because he's just like a regular person. He cracks jokes like anybody else. So when you have the transracial guy come on through the Facebook chat and he's sitting here clowning on him, talking about how he looks like Drake Malfoy, and he says he looks like a dying palm tree. The most unique part of the show for me was the commercials. In this episode, to make the network feel more authentic, they cut to commercial, and they would actually cut to commercials that were produced for the show. And that's in addition to like the regular commercials, the mafia and everything else that's going on FX. But in terms of actually adding to the show, I think it added a different element. It was cool to see Donald, like his take on some of these commercials. He has one for Swisher Sweets, and I thought it was funny just because how accurate it is. It's a huge product, but nobody uses it the way that it's supposed to be. They always cut it open, get all the tobacco out, and use it to roll up weed. I thought that was a good commercial. And then the Arizona tea one was funny. Like they rang it up and it said $1.49, and they're like, the price is on the can though. And they both said it, and then like the slogan is the price is on the can though. I thought it was funny. It started out as a simple parody of the cereal Trix, and then it evolved into police brutality. And so I thought it was a very intriguing commercial, and it fits into the idea of what Atlanta's been talking about throughout the 7 episodes that we've seen thus far. Then the transracial man that I referenced earlier when talking about Paperboy clowning on him, he had his own segment prior to that, and I thought it was something straight out of like the Chappelle Show. You have something so ridiculous, so funny, and I really enjoyed it. So basically the premise of this segment was this young black male named Antoine felt like he was a 35-year-old white male named Harrison. And I thought it was just funny the way he was talking about it in such a serious matter. Because whenever you have something that's so ridiculous, but you're talking about it as if it's very serious, it's just funny. It's hilarious when he talks about how he has a job at Coca-Cola, and later on says he's working at the mall. And then the guy conducting the segment is like, wait, you work at the mall and Coca-Cola? And he's like, yeah. And then he gives like advice on, you know, what he would tell other black males across America. And then they have that nod. They're just nodding. It was like that silent, funny part to me. I think what Atlanta continues to do well is that it has different messages throughout each episode. There's not just one thing that you can take away from every episode. There's multiple things. And I also enjoy that even when an episode sways very left, like this one, it still has some value in advancing the main story of Paperboy and his popularity rising. Him being on this show means that people are paying attention to what he's saying, and he's starting to have that kind of a voice like I talked about in the beginning. Like, it's a subtle thing, but it does have a role. And those are my thoughts on Atlanta's 7th episode titled B.A.N, Black American Network. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comment section below, and then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain, and as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for watching, and until next time, peace.